My biological father handed me a check for exactly 5 minutes before the processional. The condition was simple. He gets to walk me down the aisle. I took the microphone, looked at the man who actually raised me, and tore that paper to shreds. I had only seen my biological father, Julian, 3 times in my life. Once at age 6 when he left, once at 17 when he told me he couldn't help with tuition, and then, last week, he arrived in my apartment in a car that cost more than my entire education. He looked polished, expensive watch, perfect tan, the kind of glow only deep pockets can provide. My fiancé, Marcus, and I were drowning. We were the classic American struggle: mounting debt, a cramped rental, and a wedding guest list we had to slash because we couldn't afford the extra chairs. Julian sat on our old sofa and made his pitch. I want to fix the past. Maya, I'll pay for the wedding, all of it. And this, he said, sliding a check across the table, is $50,000 for a house. A fresh start for the last 20 years. I stared at it. That wasn't just money. It was freedom. It was a backyard for a future dog and the end of Marcus's overtime shifts. What do you want? I asked. Julian smiled. Just my rightful place. I walk you down the aisle. I'm listed as father of the bride. That's all. He left the check there. It felt like a trap. The man with the stained hands. Later that night, my dad stopped by. Not Julian, Thomas. Thomas stepped into my life when I was 8. He's a veteran who works at the local warehouse. His hands are permanently calloused, and he has a permanent limp from a work injury years ago. He drives an old truck with a rusted tailgate. He isn't wealthy. When I wanted to go to summer camp, he worked night shifts for months to send me. When I moved into my first dorm, he spent 10 hours in the heat carrying my boxes. When I was heartbroken at 2 a.m., Thomas was the one on the other end of the phone. Thomas saw the check. He saw the desperation in my eyes. He picked it up with his rough fingers and looked at me. Maya, he whispered. You have to take it. Dad, no, I argued. Listen to me, he interrupted. I can't give you this. I can fix your sink and I can give you my last dime, but I can't give you a house. This changes your future. It's just a walk. It's just a name on a piece of paper. I know who I am to you. He smiled, though his eyes were glistening. He was willing to erase himself to stand in the shadows, just so I could have a down payment. He was willing to let the man who abandoned me take the credit for the woman. Thomas had built the ceremony. The wedding day arrived. Julian was there in a tailored tuxedo, looking like he owned the venue. Thomas was in the back row, wearing a suit he'd bought on clearance 5 years ago. He looked small and resigned. The music started. The room stood up. Julian buttoned his coat and offered his arm. Ready, sweetheart? He asked. I looked at his arm. Then I looked at the check peeking out of his pocket, a subtle reminder of the deal. I thought about the debt. I thought about how easy life would be. Then I looked at the back of the room. I saw Thomas's hands resting on his knees. Those hands that held me during nightmares. Those hands that taught me how to drive. Those grease-stained, hard-working hands that had built my world, $1 at a time. I signaled the music to stop. The silence was heavy. I grabbed the microphone. There's a very generous offer on the table today, I said, looking directly at Julian. My biological father offered to buy me a house and pay for this day. The price was that he be called my father. A gasp rippled through the pews. Julian's expression hardened. For a week, I convinced myself to take it. I thought about how much easier life would be. I walked over to Julian and took the check from his hand. I held it up. But I realized you can buy a house, Julian, but you cannot buy history. You can't buy the nights spent helping me through school or the loyalty of a man who stays when things get hard. I ripped the check down the middle. Then I ripped it again. The pieces fell like snow. You are a donor, I told him. You are not a father. I turned my back and walked down the aisle alone, toward the back row. I stopped in front of Thomas. He was shaking, tears streaming down his face. Dad, I said, loud enough for everyone. Your suit might be old and your hands might be rough, but you are the richest man I know. Get up. You have a job to do. Thomas stood. He didn't say a word. He just gripped my arm solid, real, as we walked toward the altar, passing Julian as he stormed out. Thomas whispered, "You're crazy, kid." That was a warrant house. I squeezed his arm. I already have a home, Dad. It's wherever you are. The lesson, Marcus and I are going to be renting for a long time. We'll be eating budget meals for the next year to pay off this wedding. We have nothing in our savings. But when I look at my photos, I don't see a stranger who bought his way into the frame. I see the man who earned his way in, one day at a time. Family isn't a transaction. It's not about who plants the seed. It's about who stays to water the garden. Thanks for your support and watching Full Story. Subscribe me for more English learning stories.